Alright guys, TouchGrabber back again today. Hope you're enjoying your day so far, and today we're going to talk about the potential of keyboard and mouse being the future of professional Call of Duty play. Yesterday it was confirmed the CDL will be moving to PC, but with controller only for the upcoming season. However, the announcement did leave it open to the possibility that keyboard and mouse, or already any other peripheral, could be potentially introduced in future years to Call of Duty. I don't think that is the direction to go, but there's certainly been some discussion on how many professional players would survive if that is the case. Is that something that the CDL should explore? I don't think it is, for a couple of reasons here, but Nature, as we're going to look at the end of the video, seems to think that controller players still would be able to compete. I, though, personally am not so sure. Like, if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Smashing the like button helps the YouTube algorithm know you guys enjoy this content, pushes it out to new people, grows the Call of Duty community. We love to see that kind of stuff. Yesterday, the Minnesota Rocker were teasing that they were going to do their announcement later in the day, maybe because of the Huntsman stuff, where they confirmed Dashy that, well, they decided to push it back by a day, as Brett Diamond says here. This was not intended as bait, and I imagine that this is going to happen tonight or something like that. If it does, that will probably be the second video of the day, talking about this new Minnesota Rocker squad, rumored right now to be Attach, Accuracy, Major Maniac, and Priester. Very interesting squad. A few things to mention on that. A couple of other Roster Mania things to talk about then. So this is what they announced as their announcement. Instead, I suppose they're doing this Rocker Royale type of thing, similar to the Royal Ruckers that the London Royal Ravens did earlier in this season. We get this from Attach sub-teammates. This is definitely bait. They're not going to be teaming together, but if you guys see this and think there's something going on, there's not, to my understanding. We also get this as well. So Dashy says, as a follow-up to yesterday, want to thank the boys for this opportunity. Seriously, cannot wait to be the best possible player / teammate for these guys. Karma comes back with the eye emojis, and Scump's like, please come back to us. Not exactly sure what's going on here. We did say a couple of days ago that it's possible Karma comes into this team maybe as a streamer or maybe as some sort of assistant coach. Cinder will certainly be staying on the team like Troy Sender Michaels, but I'm sure Karma would be a great addition as well if they do get him into the Huntsman, and that obviously is the logical place for him to end up as a streamer or whatever he does as content going forwards. So that's something to keep an eye on that we talked on the other day. Clayster says this approved, possibly that his move to New York Subliners, that has been rumored, has been approved by the league, but you know, all these cryptic tweets all over the shop. Just wanted to go through a couple of them before we get into the main topic. And as General says, this year he now is on like a two-way contract, so not only is he a substitute for the Huntsman, but he can also compete in challenges, I'm sure, with a lot of other players that are in a difficult spot. I think I saw a tweet as well from Scraps coming back to Zed and saying, like, you know, we're just going to have to run it up in challenges and all of that kind of stuff. Let's talk then about the keyboard and mouse possible future of Call of Duty. This was confirmed yesterday, if you didn't see the announcement. From 2021, it'll be played on PC, but the only peripherals allowed are going to be a league-approved controller. This is also pretty cool because it gives the option to use PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, potentially Xbox, like 360, Xbox One controllers, and I think Parasite was saying that the hardware on some of these older controllers isn't as good, so you're going to get some more input delay, but at the same time, like, a lot of people really love the 360 controller, for example, and if it turns out to be a league-approved controller, they could use that on PC and use the controller of their choice in that sense, which is a pretty cool opportunity. However, as they say, it will maintain exclusive use of controllers for the upcoming season. Now, this may mean nothing, right, but it definitely leaves it open to the possibility that sometime in the future, we have keyboard and mouse also allowed in competitive play. And moving forwards, of course, into PC, definitely, you know, poses the question that in future years, are at some point they're going to pull the trigger and allow people to use whatever they want? I don't think that's the right move for a couple of reasons, but let's look at some reaction here from the community to this kind of potential news. Scump says, you better hope it doesn't go to keyboard and mouse too. Looking at Envoy here, because, you know, he like keyboarded back in the day on like Black Ops 3 streams and stuff like that, so he's certainly competent with the mouse and keyboard. But how many professional players are actually competent with this, right? Because using the controller is an entirely different skill set, and it's a very like valuable skill set in the sense of Call of Duty and Halo and these other games, but it's a very different skill set to mouse and keyboard. Some people obviously are just like FPS gods and they can do it with whatever input device they use, but it's certainly a different skill set, right? And I imagine the majority of the pro players would struggle if all these like Valorant and NACS kids come into the scene and start like taking over with the keyboard and mouse, because what's possible on keyboard and mouse is significantly greater than what is possible on console. But as Nature I'll talk about in a second at the end of the video, he seems to think that it's not just about aim and it's more about awareness. But to be honest, these keyboard and mouse players are probably going to pick that up over time if the opportunity does present itself. Two key reasons I don't think this is a good thing. First of all, the majority of our pro players, in my opinion, would not be able to keep up. Maybe they stick around for a year, but after like 2 or 3 seasons, when some of these keyboard and mouse players are really picking up the game, the majority of the pro players, 80-90% in my estimation, are probably not going to be able to compete anymore. There's probably some of them which are great on the keyboard and mouse that can still stick around, and there's there's probably some absolute special talents and wizards on the controller that can still compete against the keyboard and mouse users. And we've seen it in Fortnite as well with like cross-platform and all the complications that come around of that, like the aim assist and stuff that you get on controller, not on keyboard and mouse. That's a discussion which has gone on in the Fortnite community for a while. But I think over a couple of years, the professional community would certainly be pushed out the players that we have right now. And I just don't think that's a good move for the scene, because the personalities are what makes the scene, and they're what makes the scene what it is, right? And the WWE kind of sets that we have all the drama and all this kind of stuff. I think our personalities are great, and that's why I enjoy watching the scene, right? If all these guys were to be no longer able to compete, because all these like amateur CS guys that couldn't quite make it at CS or Valorant or, you know, Rainbow Six Siege or whatever, came over to Call of Duty and pushed out a lot of our pro players, I don't think it would be anywhere near as entertaining to watch, and the scene really would have to be built from the ground upwards once again. The other major part of it to me is that Call of Duty is the premier like controller esport, right? Halo a few years ago, but now Call of Duty definitely like is the A-tier controller esport, right? And if you play on a console around the world, and 95% of whatever of Call of Duty players probably play on a console with a controller in hand. So you know, it's definitely like, if you are a controller player anywhere in the world, what you want to get into as a dream like job, I suppose, is to be a CDL professional. If it goes to keyboard and mouse as well, Call of Duty effectively just becomes a worse version of those other games. Like, I look at Counter-Strike and it's such a great FPS for a number of different reasons, and if Call of Duty was to go to, you know, keyboard and mouse with that opportunity, you know, there's no USP anymore, right? It's no longer the premier controller esports. It's now all of a sudden just like a lowly game that's kind of worse to some degree than some of the other games that have been around a few years, right? There's a new CoD every year. There's always bugs. There's always issues with it. And, you know, being on controller kind of gives it that extra advantage or extra leg up, in my opinion, to get some of the guys that all they play on is controller. And if they're trying to become a professional gamer, then CDL is the obvious route. If that's no longer the case anymore, like what even happens to controller players? Probably out the window. They probably all go back to Halo. And I imagine a large number of people who follow this scene would probably think about like, going to Halo, right? Because maybe some of the professional players go over to compete over there. So I just don't think this is the move for a number of reasons. Wanted to show a couple of clips here. The first one from Nameless's podcast with Slasher a while ago, where they were talking about this opportunity of it potentially going into the PC arena, which of course is now since been confirmed, and some of the issues that is associated with going to keyboard and mouse if that does happen.
Well, yeah, we're literally in the past playing on consoles. Even when you get a brand new console, you're still in the past.
So I feel like as we can all unanimously agree that at one point COD will have to go to PC. Now, if people can use, you can't really stop people from using mouse and keyboard or controller, right? Like you can't.
You can't.
Wait, why couldn't you?
All they have to do is program something in that tells you if they're using it, and you can tell when you watch someone.
Well,
if they're
why would
using
you'd limit your player base by a ton?
Okay,
I mean,
but
most
if
of the
you don't do
player
that, you lose your pros. If you don't play, if you have a mouse and keyboard and you don't stop people from using it, you lose your pros. There's almost no way around that.
Do you think that it's worth it though to just do it, and then whoever can survive survives, and then
they won't survive?
That is the thing that kind of worries me, more so than the 44 thing. But I don't think that's a good road to take, because I think that like I think COD Esports is just like, us players have such good personalities, and I feel like we're good on camera, and we're, you know, we stream all the time, and like I don't know, we're just more relatable, I feel like, than other esports, at least from my experience.
I agree.
So I feel like losing all of us, I'm not even just talking like personally, like it's like losing Scump, you know, Crim, like Pat, like all these players. I mean, Pat might be on that anyways, but you know what I'm saying.
We know what you're saying. Yeah. No.
Like, just losing all these players could really hurt the esport. I mean, it could end up helping. Like maybe like I just feel like if they went mouse and keyboard though, we just end up getting like a lot of the top AMCS players, right?
Yeah,
that's what I could see. So like, does that help the esport? I don't think so.
But as Bryce says, it may just be a matter of time until this happens. We talked yesterday about the sponsorship opportunities that come up from having a PC game, Intel, AMD, Nvidia, all this kind of stuff for the graphics cards and the central processing units, but also from keyboard and mouse. You then get all the keyboard and mouse sponsors like Logitech and all this stuff coming into the scene. So maybe Activision are looking at that and thinking, well, if we're going PC, we might as well just go the full hog at some point. And maybe a number of our pro players are out the door anyway in a few years, and they're just thinking, well, maybe we just cash in imagine maybe 5 years time, maybe 10 years time, or whenever it is, maybe 2 years time, they decide to just pull the trigger and allow keyboard and mouse. But it does seem to me that maybe at some point this is going to happen. As disappointing I think as it would be. A good anti-cheat, of course, is also necessary. I know in Counter-Strike there's always so many issues of people who are like up and coming amateur players that just get accused of cheating, and we've seen this even this year with Awakening and like the Cronus Max and all this kind of stuff, and the Strike Pack coming into play with the online arena. If this is like, if we're on keyboard and mouse, all of a sudden this issue is even more highly charged and is a bit of a problem. And as Easy Mac says, I love watching mouse and keyboard. Like, I really enjoy watching CS personally, but there are shooters, Rainbow Six, Counter-Strike, Overwatch, Apex Legends, Fortnite, Warzone, PUBG, all this kind of stuff that use keyboard and mouse. We have a great opportunity to stay unique, and I do think this is one of the key points in addition to maintaining our professional player base, which of course could potentially go out the window if this does happen. But as Charlie Intel says, Activision Blizzard have been looking to take down cheat manufacturers. They've been sending cease and desist and all this kind of stuff to these like gated cheat organizations, so they're definitely looking to crack down on cheats. And well, I've seen this kind of happen over the last couple of months, not necessarily just because of Warzone, but also potentially the CDL moving to PC next year. Definitely something they need to be focusing on. So this was some of the discussion over at the Reddit here. We get the Trojan Horse. So I think the Greeks were sieging Troy for like 10 years or something. They weren't really getting anywhere, so they decided to build this horse and well, give it to the Trojans and say like, this is our present from us to you kind of thing. And the horse came into the city walls, and inside were the Greeks that then well, sprung out at night and took the city by storm. So well, this is as Dongliran says right here, Comp COD as we know it, Activision ushering in the Trojan Horse, being the PC and controller being the horse, the pros are welcoming it with open arms, but inside, eventual keyboard and mouse and mass unemployment awaits potentially for some of these pro players. If Activision, I don't think would make the right move in this sense, but you guys may disagree. And well, as some of the discussion here continues, Activision is smarter than the internet perceives them. They understand COD is the WWE of esports, and the personalities are what drives the scene. They're not going to make a drastic change to the peripherals, but as Dongliran says, we care about these personalities, but the CDL investors and executives open Twitch and see Shroud, Vikkstar, Nick Mercs with all more series than a home series final. And I heard some things about these Activision executives even wanting this game to go to 6 versus 6 in Modern Warfare. When public matches went back to 6 versus 6, they thought that maybe a competitive play should follow that. Now, thankfully, it's back to 4v4. So on that one, some of these guys maybe got overruled, and well, maybe they will get their way eventually on the keyboard and mouse stuff, but I'm sure some of these guys are thinking this is the future, and for a number of reasons, I don't think that should be the case. You guys may disagree in the comment section below. Wanted to finish off with a clip here from Nachod and Hector talking about how they think the controller players could still compete, but as I've been saying, I am far from convinced, unfortunately. Thank you guys for watching the video as always. Like if you guys enjoyed it, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you next time.
I think controller players, from an aim assist perspective, you even see it in Fortnite, where PC players claim that aim assist was so strong on Fortnite that it had to be nerfed, and you couldn't even compete. Like controller players were just going to win. I think when you go back and look at like the genesis of competitive Call of Duty, it started with Pro Mod. And I mean, some of the things that these guys would do, and in Warzone is a great example now, some of these PC players, what they can do is absolutely ridiculous. So I think it would be viable. I just have a hard time really honing in on who would be better.
Me too.
I think the controller players would still come out on top.
I do too.
What I think it comes down to is Call of Duty, competitive Call of Duty, does not take these snapshot reactions, right? Like that, I think general players, that hop on for a couple hours after work, and people talk to me like, hey, what sensitivity you play on? Just people that are friends and trying to figure out, well, how do you do this? How do you play as well as you do? And they're all playing on these fast-ass sensitivities, right? I mean, even like snipers back in the day for like that were making montages, they're playing like 10-10, maxed out. I would argue
16.
that 85% of the pro players are on like 5.5 or 6.6 or below. Like you don't need a fast sensitivity to be good at Call of Duty. It's really about, like you said, understanding spawns, knowing where players can be and when they're going to be, and understanding tendencies. And you don't need these snapshot reactions. So from a competitive standpoint, on these small maps, I mean, aiming comes down to fractions of seconds, but the best players, I think it's like 75%. No, I would say it's like 50% aim and then 50% of just awareness. Just awareness on the map. So even if you are on PC, it's really just going to come down to how smart of a player you are.
Yeah.
Because everyone can aim.